Haha, success. Alright, welcome back to another video here, and in this one we are going to show you how you can accept payments online with Stripe, and we're going to do it with React. So the first thing we want to do, come over to stripe.com, sign up for an account here. We're going to head over to our dashboard here. And once we're in our dashboard, we're going to come over to this tab over here to the developers here. And then we're going to look into this API keys tab here. Now, this is our API keys tab. And the two things we're going to want to look at here are this publishable key and this secret key. So this and this. Now, don't reveal this one. This one's secret. So do not show that one off. But this is all test data anyway, so it probably doesn't matter very much. All right, so once you have that, let's come over and start coding this up. All right, so I'm just in my desktop folder over here. So I'm gonna first go make a directory and we'll call it React-Stripe. And then I want to cd into that. And then I'm just gonna open that up in my VS Code. All right, so now we're in our VS Code here. Let's open up an integrated terminal right here, and we are first going to do a few things. So for this tutorial, you're going to need Node, and I think that's about it. So let's first go from here, and we're going to go npx, and we'll say create React app, and we are going to say this will be the web side. So run that. All right, so once those are finished, let's come in here and cd into our web folder. And from your web folder, let's maybe bring this up just a tad. We're gonna run a few things. So we're gonna go npm install, and we're gonna install Stripe React Stripe.js. Make sure you have that, and then at Stripe.js, and then also Axios. And Axios is just gonna be used to make our calls to our backend. So let's install these. All right, so everything looks like it installed correctly there. Now, let's open up a new tab here, and we're gonna go and make a new directory. So make sure you're in your root, not the web. So we're gonna go mkdir, and we are gonna say server. Now we wanna cd into our server. So this is gonna be our backend. And from here, we're gonna go npm init -y. Okay, and the -y is just going to skip all these questions, but basically this is going to add a package.json there. Okay, so now we can add some node packages here. So I'm going to paste these in. So we got Stripe here, we got Express, we got cores. .env is going to be our env file, so we don't show our secret from Stripe. And then just body parser. So that's all. So let's run that. All right, so if you go over to your package.json, come down a little bit, you can see these packages installed correctly. Okay, so let's close up the server. Let's go back over to our web right here, and let's start adding a few things in. So we can close up this for now. All right, so the first thing in our web we're gonna do is come into our src, and we're gonna add a new folder, and we're gonna say components. Okay, and then inside of this folder, we're going to add a new file, and that's going to be called paymentform.js. And then we're going to add one more here, and this is going to be called Stripe, container.js. Okay, so those are going to be our two components that we're going to use, and then we'll have our app.js as well. So let's just start with our Stripe container here. So we can go RFC and get us a functional component just like this. It's called Stripe container. All right, so here we're gonna go const, and we're gonna say public underscore key. So this is gonna be our public key that we looked at back in our Stripe documentation there. So come back over here and we'll see this is the publishable key. So we can click that to copy, come back over, and we can just paste that in here. So that looks good. And then below this, we're going to go const, and we'll say Stripe test promise, and we will say load Stripe. and then pass in that public key. There we go. All right, and then we want to bring in a few things up top here. So we're going to bring in a couple things here. We're going to load Stripe, which we just used right here, and then elements, which will wrap our entire container here. So we're going to bring those in, and then we're going to bring in some other stuff after. But let's finish this off first. So instead of this div, we can go elements, just like that. And then we want to pass in the Stripe here. And that's going to be equal to the Stripe test promise that we created right here. And that's going to load our Stripe right there. Okay. And then in here, we're going to pass our payment form. So I guess we can do that right now. Okay, it hasn't been created yet, so we're going to get an underline here, but that's okay. And then that's going to be it for this. So what we want to do is come back over here and let's go the same thing, RFC, create a functional component called payment form right there. And then we'll just start adding some different stuff. So we're going to start up at the top here and we're going to bring in a few things. So we're going to have a few things from our Stripe React package here, and that's going to be a card element, use elements, and a use Stripe. And then Axios is just going to make our call to our backend. And then from React, we're actually going to want to bring in here use state as well, because we're going to use that for something else. All right, so that's looking good. So let's come down to our payment form, and in here, we want to go const, and we're going to add some state here. So we're just going to have a success, and then we're going to have a set success. And this is basically going to be for when our payment's successful, we want to show something different, just to show the UI that we have a successful payment. So let's go use state, and then we'll pass in just false to start. Okay, so that's good. And then come down below that, and we're going to go const, and this is where we're going to go Stripe. And then we're going to have the use Stripe here. Sorry, that's equals. Use Stripe. And we're just going to call that there. And then below that, we'll go const elements. And that's going to be equal to use elements. And we'll call that right there. Okay. And then we're going to come down and we're going to create a function right here. We're going to call it handle submit. So const submit. And this is going to be an async function. And it is going to put the event in there. And then we'll go like this, open up some curly braces, and we'll go e.prevent default. And then we'll go const, and we'll pass in the error. And we will pass in the payment method. So for us, that's going to be of type card, I think. But you want to pass that in, and then we're going to go equals. We'll go await, and then we'll go Stripe dot create payment method down here. And then we're going to go like this, and then we pass in the type, which is for us going to be card. And then we are going to say the card, and then we're going to say elements dot get element. And then we're going to pass in the actual card element that we brought in. Okay, so this is our submit handler right here. So next, let's come down here, and we are going to check to see if there's an error. So we're going to go like this. So if there's not an error, we're going to do this. Open up some braces, and then we're going to put try catch here. So come into the try block here, and we're going to go const, and we're going to go ID, destructure that out, and that is coming from the payment method. And then we're going to go const below, and we're going to go response, and that is going to be equal to await, and this is where we're going to use Axios here. Axios.post, and we're going to hit our endpoint here, which is HTTP, and we're going to go :/localhost. We haven't set this up yet, but we will. :4000, and we're going to go /payment is going to be the route that we are going to hit. Okay, and then we're going to go and pass in our second argument here, which is going to be the amount. Now the amount in Stripe is going to be in cents. So for us, it's going to be $10. So that's going to be 1,000 cents. And then we have to pass in the ID that we just deconstructed from the payment method here. So that ID is going to be ID, or we could just put ID like that. All right, so that's looking good. Come back down here. And we are going to go if the response dot data dot success. Then we're going to just console.log, and we are going to say successful payment. Okay, and then we're going to set the success, which we just was the state that we set. All right, and we're going to set that to true. Okay, and remember we just created this from useState. So we're setting that to true, and that's just to show our own little message there. And then we'll come down in here into our catch. So if there's an error here, we're just going to say error, and then we'll just pass in the error that shows up. Okay, that's good. And then finally down here, we have an else block. And here we're just going to console.log error .message. Okay. Oh, and looks like we're not inside the async because this is separate. So come down and get rid of this bracket here, and then come down below here and make sure we add that. So this should all be within the handle submit here that we created. Okay, so that's looking good. All right, so let's come down and code up our markup here. So that success that we added with our state here, we're setting right here to true if it is successful. So let's go like this. We're just going to go like this and give it a fragment. And then inside this fragment, we're going to come like this and say if it's not successful. So if not success, we're going to do a ternary here. Come down here and we're going to create a form. Okay, and we are just going to say on submit, and that is going to be equal to our handle submit that we created. Okay, and then inside this form, we're going to have a field set. Okay, and that is going to have a class name equal to form group. And I'm going to add a little CSS just from the docs. The Stripe docs are amazing, so check those out. Make sure you do that. But I've just I'm going to copy over some CSS and just put it in our app.css. But one of the and this is straight from the docs to this form group here. So you can copy those over from there if you like, or it'll obviously be in the GitHub repo attached to this. And then we're going to go .form row here, and that will give us that. And then we're going to go and pass in the card element, which we brought in. And then we're going to pass in options here like this, and we are going to put in card underscore options. Now we haven't brought this in or anything, but let's close this off first. So that's the card options. We'll bring this in just one sec, but let's finish this off first. So underneath the field set here, we're just going to have a button, and then we will have just a pay, and that will be our to submit the payment. Okay, so then in form here, we want to come down here, and we're going to do, this is the end of our ternary here. So remember, we started it up here. This will be the end of it. All right, so in here, we're just going to have a div here. And then inside that div, we'll just have an h2. And inside of that, we're just going to say, you just bought a sweet spatula. All right, so this is what we're going to be selling, spatulas. So we're going to take over the spatula market. and create a spatula empire. So that's what we're going to be selling. So once the successful payment has gone through, we're going to hide this stuff and show this message here about the spatula. All right, so that is looking pretty good. Now the cart options. Let's come up to the top here, and I'm just going to paste in something straight from the docs. So come up here above everything, below the Axios. Come over here, and I'm just going to paste this in. And these are going to be our card options. And this, again, is taken just from the Stripe docs, so you can check that out if you like. And basically, it just gives us a little bit of styling, as well as when something's invalid, it'll show a different color and that sort of thing. So kind of nice. You might want to add that just for some styling. And then also, I'm going to come over to the app.css. I'm going to come in here and paste in the styling we want. And again, this is from the docs, but you can copy that over from the GitHub if you want some better styling. Again, not necessary if you do not. All right, so I think that is basically our entire payment form if we wrote everything out correctly. So go ahead and save this. And that is looking good. Okay, so let's come over to the Stripe container here, and we can bring this in now. And we'll auto import that. And let's go ahead and save that. And I think that is all we need for either of these files. So let's get a React app going. So in our web folder here, we're going to go npm run start. All right, so we come over and our app is running fine, but we haven't actually added this to our app.js. So let's come on over and we can just get rid of, I think, everything inside of the app here. So you want to keep that first div, but everything else, we can get rid of this header as well. Okay. And that is all we need. Okay, so in here, we're just going to have an H1, do a little markup here, and we want to say the spatula store, because we are the spatula store. And then we want to come into our here into below this, and we're going to do another ternary here. So come here, and we're going to say show item. And we're going to add this state in a second, and then we're going to say Stripe container like that, and we want to close that off. And then otherwise, we're just going to go like this. And we're going to do a fragment here. And we're going to put an H3. Okay, and inside this H3, we're just going to give the price of the item. So for us, that's going to be 10.00. And then the other side of this H3, we're just going to have an image, img, and like this. And the src is we're going to bring in. So I've added an assets folder here in our src, and then this sweet spatula that we're going to be selling. So this bad boy, it's red, nice wooden handle. It's basically the perfect spatula. So we're going to be adding that as the item that we're going to be selling. So we want to bring that in, bring in that image at the top here. So come here. We're going to bring in the spatula from this assets spatula.jpg. So come in here, and we are just going to put that in as spatula. Okay, and then we want to have an alt here for screen readers and whatnot, and that will just say spatula. Okay, and we don't need this. Okay. So that is looking good. Now that you got a red underline here, we haven't added any state. So let's come up here below this, and let's go const, and we will say show item, and we will say set show item, just like that, and that will be equal to use state. Make sure we bring that in and auto import that, and that is going to be equal to false. Okay, so that looks good. So we also want to add a button here. So let's go like this, say button. Okay, and then come over and we will say what? We're gonna say on click, and that is going to be equal to, we're going to do an inline function here. And that will be set show item. And that will be set to true. And then finally, in the middle of the button here, we are just going to say purchase spatula. Okay. All right, so this is what we're looking like. We have a ternary here. If the show item is present, we're going to show the Stripe container, which is all the Stripe form and everything that we added in order to actually buy the item. Otherwise, we're going to show the price of it, an image of it, and a button that says purchase the spatula. All right, so that is looking pretty good. I think that is basically all we need to do on the front end here. So we still have to do the back end here. So let's come in to our server. And we are gonna, well, let's take a look actually first. Okay, so we got our purchase spatula here. It's red, it's looking good. It's $10, a steal of a century. And then we're gonna click on this, and then we're gonna come up, and this is what our styles are gonna look like. Again, this is straight from Stripe, so not my styles. So let's, you can come over, and Stripe gives you a fake number that you can test. So we can go 4242424242. I guess you just do 4 2s. We'll go 42. Some numbers here, and you have to give, I think, legit. I don't know if you have to give legit numbers there. So we're gonna come over and let's open up here and inspect the element, and we're gonna go console and check over here on our right side too. Okay, so if we press pay for it, it's going to wait a second, and then it's going to have an error because we're posting to something that does not exist. So this is why we got to do our back end here. So, all right, so that's going to be it basically for the front end. We'll see if we have to come back and fix anything after. But for now, let's come into our server and let's add a new file. And that will be called index.js. Okay. And we also in here in our server, we want a new file, and we're going to say .env. And the .env is where we're going to keep our secret. So let's go to our index right now and start adding some of this stuff in. All right, so we're going to come into our index.js right here, and we just want to bring in a bunch of stuff. So let me just paste in all the stuff here at the top that we want to require. So we're going to require Express. We're going to call Express here and set it to app here. We're going to bring in our .env, which is our env file, so we can use our environmental variables like that. We're going to bring in some of the Stripe stuff here. So this is going to be the Stripe secret that we're going to add to our .env. So we're going to add that in a second here. Then we're going to bring in body parser, and we're going to need cores to make the request. Otherwise, we will be getting an error. Okay, so come down below this, and let's go app.use and start applying some of this stuff. So first thing we want to do is use body parser, parser.url encoded, just like that, and we are going to pass in extended, and that is going to be from true. And then we're going to go app.use, and we will pass in again body parser .json and call that. And then app.use, and we're going to pass in cores. And again, this is nice with Express because you can just pass in all these different things kind of as middleware, and it'll add them. So, and then we'll call that here. And now here we want to do, let's close this up. Here we want to do our actual payment. So in order to do that, actually, let's come down to the bottom here, and we're just going to go app.listen. Okay, and then we'll process .env.port, and that is going to say or 4000. So if there's a port passed in, we'll use that. Otherwise, we'll use 4000 as the port. And then here we want to do an arrow function, and we'll just console.log and we'll just say server is listening on port 4000. Good. Okay. Now, if we go ahead and save this and we come into our server here, do we have one? Come into our server and we can run node index.js from our server file, and our server is listening on that port. So that's great. So close this up, and then let's actually do our payment route here. So below this CORS here, come in here, and we're going to go app.post, and we're going to say /payment, and that's going to be the route that we're going to hit, and that is what we hit from our form up here. Yeah, localhost.4000/payment, so that's what we're going to hit. So that's good. Come in, say CORS, and that's going to take care of any errors, CORS errors we have, and then we're going to go async like this, and we're going to pass in the request and the response. And then we're going to go let amount and ID, and we're going to destructure those off of that. And that's going to be coming from the request.theBody. Make sure we don't forget our commas. So that's good. Then come down here, and we're going to do another try catch. Try catch like this, and come into our try block here, and we're going to go const payment, and that is equal to await, and that's going to be equal to await, and then we're going to go Stripe dot payment, and that's going to be intents, and that is straight from Stripe. And then we want to go create, and then we pass in some values here. So the amount is going to be the amount, so you can go amount, but we don't actually need that. We can just go amount with ES6, and then we want to do what the currency is here. So currency, and make sure you spell currency right. Yeah, and that is going to be USD, all caps. Then we want to come in and say the description, and that is going to be spatula in quotes here, spatula company. And then we are going to say payment underscore method. Okay, and that is going to be the ID that we're getting. And then we want to go confirm, and that is going to be true. Okay, so that's looking pretty good. So come down below here, scroll up a little bit, and we're just going to console.log here the payment, and then we are going to pass in the payment. And then we're going to go res.json, and we are going to open that up. And let's open up some brackets there, and then we'll go message, and you can pass in the message that we want, which is payment successful. Okay, and then we are gonna say success, and that will be true. So that's if it's successful here. And then in our catch block, we want to see if it's not successful here. So we're gonna, again, we're just gonna console.log here, and we are gonna say error like that, and then pass in the actual error. And then again, same thing, we'll go res.json like this, message, and that is gonna be the payment failed, and then the success. And of course, this is going to be false because we are unsuccessful with the payment. So I think that is everything in this file. So go ahead and save index.js. Now we want to come into our .env, because right now we're passing in up here the Stripe secret. test, which we're going to use. So you can copy that name over actually, and then come over into our .env. Okay, and we have nothing in here now. So let's go get our secret. Okay, so if you're in our API keys, you want to get this secret here. I'm not going to reveal it because that would be showing you my secret, and it's called a secret. So go ahead and get that, copy that over, and then come back over, and we're going to paste in this, and then you're going to go equals, and then quotes, and then pass in whatever your secret is. But again, I'm not going to show you that. All right, so once you save that .env, that should be coming in for your secret here. All right, so this is looking good. I think we're about ready to test it out. So let's give it a go. Make sure everything's saved for you. And then let's come over. Actually, all right, and then you probably need to restart your server here. So let's restart this. Okay, make sure that's listening, and then come back over and let's test this out. So come over to your localhost 3000, maybe give it a refresh, and you're gonna see the spatula store, our awesome product here, and then you're gonna say purchase spatula, and then you want to put in your number. For again, the fake numbers are just 424242 repeated, and then you want to put in some fake numbers here. Okay, and then when we press pay here, let's inspect this at the same time. So we can check this out. So all this is running. Let's hit pay. And looks like that was a success. So the spatula store, you just bought a sweet spatula. Congrats. This is the best decision in your life. All right, and then again, successful payment. Now, if we want to check to make sure this actually worked, you can come over here and you can say payments. And you can see right here, spatula company succeeded. And that is at whatever time here. So it looks like it worked and the payment went through, and yeah, everything is looking pretty good. All right, so hopefully that was a good intro to React and Stripe and kind of get you going on selling things on the internet, which is pretty cool. Okay, so a couple other things before we end here. Obviously, this is just test data with the fake number and stuff that Stripe just gives you. So if you want to actually move to deploying this to a kind of a production application, you got to get your Stripe account approved, and then you're going to have to get new private keys. And then you're going to need to change the Stripe secret test to Stripe secret production. And then other than that, I think maybe check out the Stripe docs. They're awesome. So a lot of this came from there. And then I'm also going to link a tutorial that a lot of the code I used came from Medium. So that'll be in the description. And yeah, that's about it. Thanks for watching.